What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? What's going on? What's going on? This is a little choppy. Somebody send me some music. Send me some music. I know I've been waiting to have this conversation. This one in particularly about the about us being Hebrews. Because whenever people say certain words and certain certain words and they connect us to certain things, we get all excited. And we gotta stop doing that. They playing us, well, they playing you. They ain't playing me because I know who I am. You're not gonna excite me with no story, with no fairy tale. I'm gonna go ahead and share this out. Let me see if I can. Know why, but when it's time to tag people, I'm horrible, y'all. I'm so sorry. Tag, what is this name I was supposed to tag her? She is. I gotta write this stuff down. Hey, Fawn, what's going on? What does experience show? What does experience show as far as what? That's what I said in the thing. What does experience show? Because you want me to add that to the list? I don't know if you want me to add that to the list because experience is showing that when it comes to this topic, we don't know shit. We don't know much at all. What does my experience show? Look, my experience is this. My experience is that we're not Hebrews, we're not Jews. We're not. That was a different people. Yes, we are in the Bible. Yes, we are. Of course we are. But that doesn't mean that particular group, particular sect was us. We only learn to associate ourselves with being Hebrews and being Jews because of history and what we learned from history. What was told to us as far as being brought here as slaves and such. Some people absolutely were. Some people were kidnapped. Some people were here contracted to work here. And the contract was because somebody wasn't honorable. But experience is not going to prove anything. Like, it doesn't matter what my experience is or what anybody else's experience is. When it comes to origins and things like that, there's a recorded proof of it. There's always recorded proof, and sometimes the things we feel don't add up with what the proof is saying. Be like that. Come on in, come on in. Come on in. Hey, Corey, what's going on? Yes, tag some people for me, please. I think I'm going to start tagging people the way I be getting tagged. I don't know if it'll work, though. But I'm going to try. Feedback, my bad, y'all, my bad. I'm going to get started in a minute. Because this is some good info. This is some good tea. And I want everybody to get in on it. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion from as a broader spectrum as we could possibly fathom. Let's critically think through the situation. I need a few more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. And I will just talk to myself and y'all catch this fire. Y'all catch this fire. Because, I don't know, certain information is never a good time. Oh my goodness. Because one thing for sure, though, we are not Hebrews. Not all of us. Some of us are, but not all of us. It's a couple things about Hebrew that we keep overlooking. We don't want to address. We don't want to touch it. It's like we don't want to get our hands dirty or something. And that's where we messing up at. This tea is so nice. Let's see, who else can I remember? Who out there? Say something to me so I know myself, y'all. What's going on? Because I'm ready to get into this. I got my Bible out and everything. So What's going on? Hey, Carter. My screen, I got stuff going on. Yay! I gotta find some people from my page to tag to this. Hey, LaDalia, do me a favor, sis. Help me get some people up on here. I think everybody's sleeping. I need some help getting some people to talk to. If you could help me out a little bit, that would be so fly. I want to have this heavy discussion. I want to just give people something to think about, some stuff to think about. You know? People sleeping, right? They ain't sleeping. They just ain't on right now. They're about to be sleeping. Oh, I got some people. Come on in, y'all. Come on in, y'all. Say something to me so I can get started. Peace, Corey. For some reason, whenever it's time for me to go live, I can't remember anybody's names. That's horrible. That is so bad. Ta. Good night, Rastop. How you doing? The bath, do you good? Thank you, sis. Trying to tag some people to it. But I definitely think this is a good discussion for us to have, because we all guilty of doing certain things, like repeating after some information that we trust. You know, especially if we heard it for a long time, you keep repeating it. Oral traditions. That's how we do stuff. We like to talk. But right about now, we need to be researching and making sure that we know what we're talking about. Because they getting ready to hang y'all. They get ready to put everybody through the shredder. Everybody. And they're going to do it while you are upset and have your emotions spread out over black versus white, men versus women, white Jews and black Jews. There's going to be all kind of mixy fights that don't have nothing to do with your remedy. As long as y'all fighting and carrying on with this, they know y'all don't know the truth, so they not worried. Carter, stop. You know? I'm going to talk to you, LaDalia. I'm going to talk to you, Carter and Rostop. And Corey, if he's still there. Y'all know y'all been reading this wrong. Y'all been reading this wrong. Let me show you. Let me show y'all that y'all been reading this wrong. Now, this is the New King James Version, but it's good enough. You're going to get the point. Let me see if I could take a snapshot. How would I get it up? I don't know. Peace, Yvonne, what's going on, sis? Well, I'm gonna read it to y'all. I'm gonna read the Bible to y'all because I don't got the time right now to set up clips and visuals. That would be nice though. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that in the future. I have visuals of what I'm looking at, the books and stuff I'm looking at, so y'all could go ahead and do your own scholarship. Because we gotta read and critically think. We can't just take stuff and repeat after people, and we haven't really given it thought, you know, because we're melanated beings, and what that means is that we're sensational. Basically, in the word, we're sensational. We're sensational people. Everything is through our senses. We're sensational. So, if something can make you have a sensation, then you will grab onto it for some sort of reason. You'll find a reason to store that memory with you and keep it with you. You'll hold on to that experience if it gives you a sensation. All right? Now, what I want to do, I'm going to try to keep this a little quick too, but I want y'all to get the point. I'm going to go over this again, but I'm going to still do it tonight because y'all got to, I don't get hurt. I want y'all to know the truth and know what time it is. You have to know what time it is, you know? Because it's all fun and games when we have something to gossip and talk about, right? Oh, look what they doing to Kanye. Look what they doing to Kyrie. And all this other stuff, not even realizing those two are a part of a whole bigger plot and situation. They not like you. Them people not like you. How long that video Kyrie watched been on Amazon? It been there for a while. That video been there, and nobody care about that video until somebody made somebody care about the video. Nobody cares about that video. They don't care about that video. They know the man is not being anti-Semitic. They know that. They also know how to gaslight y'all, how to play with y'all emotions. They be fingering y'all like schoolgirls. They playing with y'all. And I'm going to show you how in this Bible that if we was to actually read it and think about what's being said in the context that it's being said in for the purpose and intent that it's being said, we could solve a whole lot of problems. Let me start with this first verse. Genesis. And it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Let me turn this music off. Let me turn the music off. Let me get the music off. Because I don't know about some of y'all, but I'm one of those woke people. I read. I didn't leave church because I was mad and then said I'm not picking up another Bible or another book again. No. Just so y'all know, my baby is 15 and my big baby is 20 something years old, and I've been on this journey since he was a baby. So I'm not newly woke. I didn't just wake up. I didn't just start knowing stuff when I came to Facebook. Not at all. I've been in this for a long time. Been in this game for years. Made me an animal. So here we go, y'all. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and the darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. We could stop there and understand that something is going on, because it said the earth was without form and void, right? But it's still called earth. It's still called it the earth. So that means that this planet was already here when Genesis was being written. When we get to Genesis, This is the middle of the story. This is not the beginning of the creational story. If it was the beginning of the creational story, the earth wouldn't be able to be called the earth, and it wouldn't be without form and void. And definitely the spirit wouldn't be moving across the face of the waters. The only place that can happen while this place is still yet being recreated is in the mind of the creator. That's the only place you could close your eyes and things be without form and void. And you have spirit moving across the water. It's in your imagination when you're thinking, your brain is firing off thoughts, and you having emotions from your own thoughts. Nobody has emotions from their own thoughts. You don't think things and get happy, or think things and get sad. I know I do. Everybody is supposed to feel something, you know? Supposed to be able to feel. All right, let me continue. Then it says, let me go down to the creation part. All right. Creation starts like, don't mind me, my eye, I'm getting old. My eyes is bad. Let me see. Creation starts at, wait. I'm gonna save this for the long version. Because God creating stuff, he talking and he's making things, right? With his speech, right? Then when he gets to man, he's like, and God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, right? Let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle. Pay attention, y'all. Specifically, he said, let man have dominion over the cattle, okay? Over the cattle, over all the earth and every creeper that creeps on the earth. Right there, we see that God is not a singular thing. God is a plural. God is a unit. God is a family. Like if your last name is Bennett and you got Mr. Bennett, Mrs. Bennett, baby Bennett, niece Bennett, Harry Bennett, cousin Bennett. God of Bennetts. So anytime a Bennett is involved, it's going to be the Bennetts. It may not specify which Bennett it is, but it's a Bennett involved. Okay. So we see here that there's a group effort already going on, and it said, make man in our likeness and our image, right? Now, let's get on to where Cain kills Abel, because that's the part I want to look at. I want us to take a look at. No. Before we get to Cain killing Abel, let's look at the second chapter where God tells them to be fruitful and multiply, right? So we come to the second verse, and it says, forgive me, y'all, my eyes is bad. And God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed, right? He formed man, formed him. Now, I want to look back at those words where he said, where they said, let us make man in our image. These are the things that I realized through the years of reading the Bible, reading law books, reading science books, that the way we speak and the way we talk, the way we express ourselves is very, very different from when you would take an actual account of something. You actually would end up writing it in a very different way when you want to be more precise about the facts, right? And the fact that they said, let us make man, is like saying, let us make a cake. I want that to settle in your mind. Let us make cake. What do you need to make cake? You need ingredients to make the cake, right? You need ingredients to make the cake. You need something to make the cake with, to make the cake out of. Now, this is saying he made them out of the dust, but we overlook the fact that Adam was also made in their likeness, not just the image. So he wasn't just taken from a different type of material and fashioned. He also shared likeness with these us's who said, let us, the Elohim, to be exact, right? So they had to use something of theirs that's rather personal. Some DNA material had to be used in order to make man have their likeness. He had to have something from them, some genetic material, right? So boom, got the genetic material. He said, okay, we're going to make man in our image. After that, he tells them, go, be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. That right there stuck out to me the other day. It was slapping me like, wow, we overlooked this for years. I overlooked this forever. Replenish. They stopped teaching phonics in school in this country for a reason. Phonetics, phonics, Phoenician people. We read different. We the ones that, well, our ancestors are the ones that created the whole system of languages and stuff anyway. It's a system that's based on other sciences. We ain't gonna get into that right now, but language is a system that interacts with our central nervous system for us to communicate and express ourselves and stuff like that, right? But in order for them to replenish the earth, hey, certified guap, what's going on, King? In order for them to recertify, reading your name, you see that? In order for them to replenish the earth, it means that the earth had to be plenished before. It had to be stocked up before. That's what replenish means. That's like when you replenish your cabinets, when you stock your cabinets, when you create a storage, a storehouse, right? And you have goods in there. You replenish the goods when they run out. That stuck out to me, right? So we already see in Genesis, we didn't even get to the 3rd chapter yet, that the planet was already here, right? And that it must have needed to be replenished. And when we read the Bible, you go on, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on in here that changes the people and makes them a little bugged out. And we're the victims of this stuff still right now today. And we getting ready to go through another catastrophe. We getting ready to straight go through another catastrophe. And so little people are unaware of it because we're repeating fairy tales. We're not thinking. We're not critically thinking. We're just looking to the person to the left and to the right of us to see if they agree. We just stroking egos and playing with ourselves out here. That's what they want us to do, though, because as long as you're doing that, then they got stock. As long as you're confused about what's going on, then they have stock and they're being replenished, right? So it said, let us make man, and he's going to be in charge, right, of the birds of the air, the sea creatures, and over the cattle and over every creeping thing. You know? Sound like a good deal. Sounds like a good deal till Cain killed Abel. It sounded all right until Cain killed Abel. This is the part. This is the story that we overlook. I know I did. I peeled this. I've spent years reading Genesis. Just the first 5, 6 chapters will have you stuck for years, okay? Because every time you peel it open, you could get something new out of it. But we go to the situation where Cain kills Abel, right? First of all, the serpent, he can talk. And the Bible says he was the wisest creature in the garden, right? He was the wisest of all the creatures in the garden, this serpent, this snake, right? And this snake was he happened to be so smart and clever that he talked to Eve. Eve got cool with him. Peace, sis, what's going on? Islam. Yeah, Eve got mighty comfortable with the snake. She got mighty comfortable. She got downright cozy with the serpent. They walking through the garden, they kicking it, they talking. He's showing her about he's a teacher. He's wise, he's a teacher. I want you to remember that. This serpent, wise, the wisest in the garden. And he was a teacher because he was teaching her about the place. Yeah, I know it's you, sis. Amor, I know your name, sis. But yeah, he was the wisest in the garden, right? So this wise creature now is walking around with this man's wife. Not only was Eve Adam's wife, right? But she was his responsibility. She's supposed to be helping him. Because she's the help. She the help me. She's supposed to help him. They husband and wife. When we look at the etymology of the word husband, this man was simply a worker. He working in the grape yard, the grape fields. He's a vineyardman. He's tending to the vines and stuff. So she was supposed to be helping him tend to the vines, take care of the garden. But she off getting her education. She was off getting her education, chilling with the snake, who, by the way, was not just a snake. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes, too. This snake was not a snake. This snake was a man. The snake was a man. And he was teaching her. Now, Adam and Eve, they were together, tight as thieves. They doing everything together. And they was in this garden, right? So we have the earth that had this catastrophe happen to it. Somebody done jacked it up, done hit it with asteroids and shit, done killed off the dinosaurs. So now they want to put a garden and some people on there, right? So they chose a specific area to put man in. And we're going to read this again. When I go over this again, we're going to read it again. Because it didn't say he made man in the garden. It said God placed man in the garden. So he could have very well been created someplace else and then transported to Eden. Could have been made someplace else and then transported to Eden, which is what basically it's saying here, right? So now we moving right along. Some time goes by. Eve has children. The children get old enough where they want to take wives and get married. They making their own sacrifices to God and all of that now, right? They grown. So Cain killed his brother. We're not going to get into why, but Cain killed his brother. And this is the part that that just double confirmed everything for me, that we are not Hebrews, y'all. We not. And I'm gonna show y'all. I'm going to show y'all. We're not Hebrews. Cain killed Abel, right? And when Cain killed Abel, God was like, Cain, where's your brother? And this sarcastic man was like, I don't know. Shit. My brother's keeper? Like the plan big. You going to ask me where he at? Why am I supposed to know? Why should I know where he at? So God said, all right, Cain, we're going to play that game. I know you killed them. I'm not going to play the game with you. Cain admitted to it. Yep, I'm guilty and I can't even deal with it. Like, my conscience is bothering me. I feel a type of way about this. This is not cool, what I did. He knows it's not good. So God is like, well, I got to put you out the garden. I'm putting you out the garden. You got to go. You gotta go. You can't be in here killing. You can't be in here killing folks. You know, that's not what we're doing. So right here we see a situation where already God is a politician. He's already a person of authority in this situation, right? Because he's letting people in, he's telling people to leave, doing immigration services and stuff like that. He's deporting poor boy. He's putting him out the garden, you know. So Cain says to him, Cain says, "Nah, please, God, no, no, please, God, I beg, don't put me out. They're gonna kill me." This is where it gets crazy, y'all. God made Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel, runs away, but he tells God, "Don't put me out the garden. They gonna kill me." Who the hell is they? Who was looking for? Why did Cain think people was out there? Why did Cain think that was outside of the garden? Either somebody lying or somebody is not telling the whole story. Because not only did Cain say, "God, no, don't put me out. I beg. Like, they gonna kill me. They gonna kill me out there." Like, a brother look different, yo. You got me over here. I was part of this experiment. You got me looking different than them people who's actually out there. Like, what am I supposed to do? I look different. I'm a different type of person. They don't know me out there. They don't know me out there. What can I do? So God says, this how you know it's some fuckery going on. We not reading this book. We not reading this book, y'all. Because if God was as was the way we're taught he is, God would have told Cain to calm down. I didn't make nobody but your mother and your father, and they only made you and your brother. There's nobody outside, son. Would have comforted him. But God didn't do that. God didn't do that, y'all. He gave him a mark. He said, "Let me give you a mark, a seal, so if anybody see you, they don't kill you." That right there was when my brain said, because we always wondered for a long time, well, at least I did, incorporate commerce, government terms, and to understand who we are, you understand it. That's right. It's true though. If we put everything together and we look at what's happening in the Bible and you put the political terms to it, you get a whole different type of understanding. You get a whole different type of thing going on. Like, to me, it stuck out in the Bible to me that the guard asked Jesus to pay his taxes, and Jesus looked at Peter and said, "Yo, pay the man. Like, yo, I give unto Caesar that which belong to Caesar, and I give the God that which belong to God." Jesus was a craftsman, so he filed 1099. He's self-employed. So he wasn't giving Caesar what he asked for just because he asked him for it. Matter of fact, Jesus was tax exempt. That's why he told Peter, "You go ahead and pay the man, because I done told y'all, aren't ye gods? Your scriptures told y'all is God. Why is you paying Caesar in your own land?" You understand what I'm saying? Jesus was already trying to put people on. But let me come back to the beginning. Let me come back to the beginning. All right. So Cain gets a mark, right? And he goes someplace else, and he not only has a mark to protect him from the people that God didn't create, but they was there anyway, obviously, right? And he finds him a wife. So not only are they different people, these are people that are people. These are other Homo sapiens. These are other human beings. Because he found him a wife among them. Just like in the book of Genesis, what's that? 6:1, the sixth chapter, when the sons of God came down to earth and they took wives of they thought the daughters of men were fair, and they took them for wives. If I saw a frog outside, right, I'm not looking at the frog saying, oh, that frog look good, let me take him for a husband. Why? Because we're not compatible. I'm not compatible with a frog. I can look at him and tell we're not the same, not compatible, not thinking about taking him for a wife or for a husband. So we see right there that the sons of God had to be humanoid. They had to be men. They had to be men that came down. They had to be men. So when these men that came down and saw that the daughters of men were fair, they were pretty, they nice looking people. They nice looking, right? To them, they was nice looking. I don't know what they saw, but to them it was nice looking, it was good enough. 2 arms, 2 legs, the head is split, let's go. They can get it in, they can flip it over, turn it around, it can cook, clean up behind itself, let's go, it's good. It's good, let's go. So they was with it, that's what they did. But it had to be some sort of compatibility there for them to even consider or think about marrying this completely different species of earthling, basically. So now we got Cain, right? He done bumped into some of these people. And God gave him a mark, right? That they would not harm him. That mark is the 5-pointed star. It's the seal of Solomon. That's what he gave him. He gave him the seal of Solomon. And when we look at the story of the seal of Solomon, we see that Solomon was getting in some little beefs and stuff like that, right? And God said, look, let me help you out. He gave him a talisman, gave him a seal, the 5-pointed star, right? So we got that with the 5-pointed star, right? And the Bible talks about a place in the people around this time, also called the Rephaim. The Rephaim, right? Now, we move further on down the line, right? We have the people, they mixing and meshing, they doing their thing. Obviously, already though, the Egyptians and the Sudanese and the Sumerians and the Abyssinians, all of these people are already on the planet. The Ammonites, the Cushites, everybody's already here. By the time we get to the part in Genesis where Jacob comes along, Jacob and Esau, right? So Jacob and Esau, they the twins, right? They the brothers. One of them was an outdoorsman. He's sporty. You know, he's a whole jock. The other one was a little mad scientist named Jacob. He was a scientist, and the Bible says he was a scientist because when he went to go visit with his cousin Laban, him and his cousin did a whole splicing experiment on the cattle. I gotta read this book. This story is lit, y'all. It got alien invasion, science experiments, all kind of crazy high technological attacks going on, and we sitting up here believing in fairy tale, but we're not even looking into the fairy tale before we believe it. Like this stuff is so crazy. It gotta be true. It gotta be true. It's too crazy not to be. How can you make this up? It gotta be based on something, like according to the theories of relativity. It's not anybody just made this up. This is on something that is actual factual. Okay. So anyway, I digress again. To go back to the seals, right? So we got Cain, who was given the 5-pointed star. He was given a mark that no man should kill him, right? And some type of truth. It has to come from some type of truth. It really does. Then we get to Jacob, right? Jacob. Now they done been in Egypt. They've been, around the outskirts of the desert and everything. And if you do your history and read, the groups of people that lived outside of Kemet, that lived in the outskirts and in the wilderness, were the Hyksos. Those were Hyksos people. Hebrews and Hyksos those is cousin and cousin. Those is the same type of people. They on the same wavelength. These are people who, like regular people, were created and they came away. This is what Jacob did now. Jacob, because he started getting his own ideas about stuff. Why? Because they was in Egypt worshiping the sun. And this is where we got to be careful at. This is why it's important that we read these scriptures, these old books, these old texts for ourselves, and we read and we digest these things, and we do it a couple of times, because you read it today, you have an experience tomorrow that grows you, matures you, and gives you another point of view, and now you feel different about yesterday's decisions, so you got to read it again, see what kind of development you get this time with the new experience, right? So they had been in Egypt around the Greeks and them, with the Hyksos. We started getting foreigners and visitors coming to learn from us. And you know how people do when they come into your place from where they from. They start, messing up the culture. That absolutely happened. Where people were into sun worship, right? And we were not supposed to worship the sun. The sun ain't for you to worship. The sun is inside of you. What are you worshiping that for? For what? It's no reason to worship it. We all working together. Matter of fact, you got things to do. You don't have time to worship the sun, the moon, the stars, anything else. That's how we ended up in problems, following Jacob through the desert, worshiping the sun, moon, and stars, and got given over for a retrograde mind, right? So while they was traveling, Jacob heard that his brother coming, and he had like 400 dudes with him, and Jacob was scared. You find this story in Genesis 32, right? So he was scared of his brother because he just did some old dirty stuff and stole his brother's inheritance. So he thinking his brother is coming to get him. And he's like, this dude is a little ruthless. He's a brute. He be outside throwing rocks, moving tree logs and stuff. I'm in the house looking at flowers and bugs and studying all day. I'm not about that life. I gotta run. So he split his camp up, put half on one side, the other half in another direction, hoping that if his brother comes and attacks anybody, that he won't get everybody, that he can save some, I'm gonna also do another video how all of this is allegory. All this whole entire thing, Adam and Eve, allegory, Jacob, the tribe of Israel, Rachel, all of that, is all allegory, okay? But for right now, yeah, the truth is here. The sun is here to keep us physically. It's to help us grow. It nourishes the flesh. It nourishes the flesh and it ripens the ego. We need the moon. A lot of people think the sun makes things grow. The sun is not what makes things grow. It's the moon that makes things grow. Things grow in the dark. They grow in the dark and they ripen in the light. Okay, so I had shown I had made a reel with the star, the 6-pointed star in it, right? Showing some history about the 6-pointed and how this star is nowhere near Jewish at all. Okay, nowhere near Jewish. Let's go back to the Garden of Eden and talk about that snake. Okay, because that snake was what was called a naga. A naga. And a naga were called serpent people. Because we were people that we venerated the moon, not worship. We venerated, we honored, we lived via a lunar calendar. You know, we did things according to the phases of the moon. That's how come we have months or whatever. Yeah, we all have a schedule. We all on a rotation here. We all in orbit. We all in orbit right about now, you know? And at that particular time, before Abraham left Samaria with his wife and all of that, everybody was living matrilineal. Everything was matrilineal, guys. Everything. So I thought about this. Everything was matrilineal, right? We have our set, and we have Nebuchadnezzar that never gets talked about. Nebuchadnezzar is always just reduced and left at that's Isis' sister, or that's Isis' dark twin. That's her shadow side. That's what we're going to focus on. Not today, but we're going to get to that. Because this feminine divine energy that's rising, a lot of us women are waking up and we tapping into something that it feels good. It's exhilarating. It feels natural. It's like, yes, this is what it is for us. And we making all of this money. We doing all this industrious stuff. And now our imaginations are going pew, 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 pew. Because we're expanding. We in the valley of the shadow of death, y'all. We in the valley of the shadow of death right now. So we waking up. But while Jacob was running and hiding from his brother Esau, right? That they split the camps up, and while he slept that night, he wrestled with an angel. He wrestled with a man, right? Jacob wrestled with this. Y'all, we gotta really read this book. Jacob wrestled with the man, right? I'm gonna get. I want to talk so much right now, but I'm not going to. He wrestled with him at this place called Mahanaim, right? And Peniel. Yeah, I'm saying pineal because that's what it is. It's the pineal gland. Okay. So basically, Jacob he's trying to sleep and he's wrestling with this man all night. And the man, Jacob was already he already a little limp. So the man touched his hip, right? Where he had the limp at, and the muscle shrunk and it tightened up on him, and Jacob couldn't move. So I imagine he on the floor like, yo, let me go. The man got him pinned down. And he like, let me go. It's almost daytime. Like, leave me alone. I can't move. Release me so I can move. You done put my hip out. Why is this important? Why was this story important to tell in the Bible? Because this story, right, is where we see Jacob get his name changed from Jacob to Israel. And they said the reason why his name got changed is because he wrestled with God and man and he prevailed. He wrestled with God and man and he prevailed. When we look at this, I got the star right there in my logo. See my logo? It got the Sri Yantra. The Sri Yantra, y'all, is older than the so-called Star of David. It's old. That is old Hindu, old Indian, old Naga Srini Yantra stuff. Is old. Okay, so we've been using the inverted triangles overlapped. That's not Jewish. That's not Hebrew. And if the Hebrew people were formed, listen to this. Listen to this, guys. Jacob wrestled with the angel. The angel put his hip out. the hip. I want y'all to think about. I don't got no pictures of nothing over here. I gotta get diagrams and stuff. I'm ready to go in. Y'all know how the natal chart looks, the astrological chart, right? The circle. The tribes of Israel go around the circle. They are also synonymous with the zodiac. Stay with me. So if the zodiacs are the tribes of Israel, and the tribes of Israel are his son, and his children are the fruit of his loom, his seed, right? This angel had crippled him, hit him in the hip. Sagittarius is what controls the hip. So if Sagittarius is what controls the hip, you got to look like, in my brain, I see it as the Sagittarius, he riding shotgun like this, right? He got his guns out, got his arrow out. He's pointing at the Scorpio. Pointing at the Scorpio. Scorpio is in charge of your genitals. So he done shot his balls down. He done left an imprint. Trauma, guys. I'm thinking trauma imprinted onto the DNA through this experience that Jacob had. Jacob had this experience where he wrestled with the angel and man, or God and man, and he prevailed. That star right there is a up-pointed triangle with a down-pointed triangle. That's your 6-pointed star. God, right? Man, as above, so below. So basically, what we read in this story, Jacob, this is all happening in his brain, in his mind. This is an internal thing happening with him for real. His pineal gland started decalcifying, started activating. It started juicing up his pineal gland, right? And as his pineal gland is activating and juicing up, and he's having all of these experiences, right? He begins to wrestle with the angel. All of us, at some point in time, we come face to face with entities, with forces. Some people call them demons, some people call them angels. But you definitely wrestle with dark parts of yourself. You definitely meet your monsters. Some of us have more than one. Sometimes you only get to meet one at a time. Sometimes they come out 2 and 3 and they jump you and they drag you and they fight you. Yes, they do. They fight you. You be up, restless. You can't rest for nothing. You going back and forth within yourself about your life, about your existence, about your being, about your behavior, about the paradigms that you've built your philosophy on and build your whole self on. Like, you start to question things. This is the fight. That's the fight that Jacob was having, right? So if Jacob is having a fight and the fight crippled him, he received injury during the fight. And this injury, remember, Sagittarius is the hip. Sagittarius is also in charge of your philosophies, the way you think, your spirituality. So now he has a whole different mindset. That's what the hip, getting hurt, stood for. Mind you, he was already injured at the hip. So he already had a broken philosophy. He already was working with something that wasn't solid. I'm talking about Jacob here. He already wasn't a solid dude because his hip was already injured, and then the angel came and broke him down some more. So now he's locked into this whole thing where he's like, I'm wrestling with God and man, and I'm prevailing. When we look at the 6-pointed star, it gives you the angles, basically, in placement of the 6 planets, the 7 planets rather, that we express, and basically, like, we're moving, that's the energy that we moving on. all day, every day. Mercury, Mars, my whole tarot card thing. Your sun, your moon, your rising, your Mercury, your Mars, your Venus. That's your six-pointed star. That's your six-pointed star right there. So that is also a talisman, just like this is. It's a talisman. And God gave Jacob this talisman for him and his people, right? For him and his people. So we have a star that he gave Cain, and we have a star that he gave Israel. Now, the star that he gave Cain was so that if any man find him with that mark, they not gonna kill him. They not gonna kill him. Now, remember, there was people who was already here. There was people that were already here when Cain killed Abel, and Cain was scared to go outside and be with them. So whatever this mark is, which is the one I got on my head right now, that's the mark that God gave him, because that's the mark that the people was using. That's why they wouldn't kill him if he had it. This is all politics, y'all. This whole thing is all politics. It's politics, right? So now we got Cain, who has this mark, right? Cain actually goes to a place that has a name, and he does a thing. You don't hear too much about him no more in the Bible after that. But history talks a lot about him. History talks about him. The Bible talks about him, but indirectly. Very indirectly. Very indirectly. So now let's get back to these Hebrews so you can see and ask yourself if you are indeed a Hebrew. Because the Hebrew Israelites are people that, number one, Laban and Jacob spliced. These are spliced people. These are made people. These are created people. They were made through crossbreeding and stuff, right? So then Jacob has his children, teaches his children his philosophy, tells them about, you got your sun, your moon, your star, you putting them on about the 6 points, which also basically traps you in your body, people. This traps you in your body. Only going by your 6 chakras, basically. You working with the 6th chakra, you ain't going all the way up to the 7. You're not going up to the crown. Oh, that's reserved for Jesus. Then who are you? Who are you? If you're not Jesus, who are you? Who are you? We are Jesus. We are Jesus. We're examples of Jesus. Because the Hebrews were Canaanite people. They were Canaanite people. So that means you got Moabs, Kemites, the ancient folks, the Cushites. Hebrew is a language that was spoken amongst the different nations within those empires. Hebrew was a language and a culture, basically. But it was not a people. Why? Because Jacob was not a king. Jacob was not a king. Jacob wasn't a king, so he couldn't go to anybody and say, hey, these people are official tissue. Put this name down on the books. Because in the Bible, God makes deals with all the nations, right? And he gives Israel a covenant. He gives Israel a covenant. Are you Hebrew? How? Are you from the line of the people that was spliced and then branched off? Mind you, while they done branched off from the nation that they were, that they done came out of Egypt, They done left all that behind. They done left Samaria. They done left all that behind. They not doing that. They doing their own thing. They following one God. They following Yahweh. And when you read the story, right, and it talks about that star, it talks about Rephaim. I got to go back to that. When you look up Rephaim and you get the name Rephaim and you get the name Chiyun. When you look up what Chiyun is Saturn. That's Syrian for Saturn. So y'all still don't want to believe that y'all are nobody wants to be a Satan worshiper. But that's you worshiping Satan. And guess what? I'm not mad at you. You just need to understand what you're doing. Understand what you're doing. Because we got to understand who is who in this story. God, number one, is not one person. God is a group of people. So which God within that group is the one that told Jacob to make these separate people to make Hebrews? It was Saturn, because the gods are the planets. Those are the governing bodies. Those are the governing bodies. Genesis chapter 1, verse 4, I believe it says, and God he made the stars in the sky for a sign. He told you from the beginning. I gave you the zodiac. What do signs do? They point you in the direction. They give you instructions and stuff like that. That's what signs are. So he put the stars up there for a sign. And the people were following the stars so much that they started worshiping the stars. Because see, they had came away from their original matrilineal practices and started doing their own thing, which is what a lot of people do right now. They just they hear a little something, they learn a little something, and then they start remixing shit, start making it their own, without really understanding what it is that they dealing with. Saturn, even though we equate Saturn to being a man and we say old man Saturn, right? But Saturn is an androgynous planet. Ooh. And then if you're going to take those stars, those lines, those triangles, and invert them, and you stick that on the people, you just put a spell on them. You just put them in a hex. So the Hebrew people were hexed. They are hexed. They're not hexed with being. They're not hexed with the politics. It's a spiritual hex. They're trapped in working only from here down. Here down. Third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral root. That's it. That is it. That's all they working with. Trapped in their flesh. With no contract with the nation. Because they're not affiliated with the nation. They came away. They came away. And this was done by design. This ain't no accident. This is not an accident. Because from the very beginning, this planet was a garden. This is a supermarket, y'all. This is a garden. This is a garden. They came here for resources. They came here to get natural commodities and stuff like that. They came here to do a grocery run. The Anunnaki. They came here to do a grocery run. While they was here, they said, we like the place. They put people here, right? They put people here to govern the place. They put people here to govern the place. So they don't got to do the work. Like intelligence, duh. So they put us here to govern, right? But they had to make more cattle. They had to make a different type of people to be the cattle. This is where Enlil, Yahweh, makes people. He had to make a different type of people from the people who was here because they need cattle, they need fuel, they need resources, and they didn't want to kill us. He couldn't kill us. Why? Because we have the genes of Isis. We got the mother all in us, all over us. We dark and we comely. She taught us, she and Inky taught us about the planet, taught us about sciences, taught us about the herbs, and Isis and Nebuchadnezzar, because them two go together with everything. Isis and Nebuchadnezzar taught us about being women and about commerce and about the rites of passages for the dead and inheritances and taxes and stuff like that. Nebuchadnezzar was called the Lady of the Temple, right? The Lady of the Temple. And the temple, your temples is what governs your body. This is where God is at. God is in the temple. God is in the temple, not in the building. Not in the building. That's why the Bible says you don't find me. You're not going to find me in these brick buildings, in these brick and mortar physical buildings. The temple is not a brick and mortar building. It's a flesh and bone one. It's you. So since Nebuchadnezzar was the lady of the temple, she was the lady of the government. She was the first lady. She was the first lady, right? As far as government goes, as far as governing and things goes, Isis was dealing more with the home and the naturalness. That's why they love to talk about Isis. They love to talk about Isis, want to keep us in the house. They love to talk about Offset. Oh, she's a husband. She knows how to keep her husband, keep her relationship spicy. And, she raised her man back from the dead, kept him live long enough for him to get his one nut off and have a kid with him. Like, she's being the perfect wife. But nobody wants to talk about Nebuchadnezzar. Why? Because Nebuchadnezzar is who put the whole masonry and everything in place in the first place. That's Isis and Nebuchadnezzar. So all of this secret society stuff, that's our stuff. Before my grandfather died, oh, peace, sis, pay us your peace. Before my grandfather died, my grandfather was a 33rd degree Mason my whole life. I never known him to be anything else except for a 33rd degree Mason and a deacon in his church, right? Now, when he got up in his years, I used to take care of him and my grandma, and I used to ask him questions all the time. I be asking him questions all the time. I'm digging in the crates. I'm coming back. I'm repeating things to him that I'm hearing in meditation and all kind of stuff. And by the time my granddad was on his deathbed, he said to me, he said, don't you join no lodge. Don't do it. Out of all my children, you got it. And you better not join no lodge. Don't let your sons join no lodge. You are the true Mason. I got it when he said it, but I didn't get it the way he meant it, but I got it the way he meant it now. He said, you are the true Mason. He said, the Mason is the mother talking to the son. Isis and Nebuchadnezzar talking to their sons, putting their sons on about law and order. Heru and Anubis. All right. So what happens? These powerful women, right? This is how women operate. If I don't gotta break a sweat, I'm not going to. I'm a woman. My work is mental. My work is sensational. It's energetic. So when there's physical things that have to be done, I'm going to express it and design it on an energetic level. I'm going to mastermind it. Then I'm going to put that project in my son's hand. I'm going to put that in my son's hand for him to execute. I'm going to give that assignment to my husband, a matter of fact. Let him run that. Him and the boys could take care of that. Long as the plan is getting done, as long as the plan is being executed, and I'm not the one executing it, breaking the sweat, guess what I'm going to do? Because I'm mama. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to sit back. So the whole thing with the men taking the women out of power, they usurped us. You understand what I'm saying? That's a whole other situation. But that system was already in place by the time the Hebrew Israelites were being formed. We already had secret societies. We already had secret societies and universities and things of that nature going on. We were already conducting government by the time the Hebrew Israelites came along. So these Hebrew Israelites were people that were created and cultivated into this group that was then, they basically had energy head work done on them, mashed them up, put them under this spell, right? Gave them instructions and said, y'all got to keep doing this till I come back for you. Y'all got to live by this right here. So I know who you are. In the Bible, it says, my sheep know my voice. And when we read this Bible, God is talking to two different types of people. He's talking to sheep and lions. He talks to sheep and he talks to lions. He talks to lamps and he talks to lambs. Lambs go to the slaughter. Lamps sit at the right hand of God. You can't be both at the same time. Can't be both at the same time. So depending on what you're following in this book, if you're following the instructions per given to the Hebrew, guess what? You're a sheep. You're a sheep. Even the Bible says so. The Bible says, great is, he said, the Bible says, broad is the path to destruction and many find it. But the way to righteousness is a straight and narrow path that very few find. You got a whole freaking fake nation of people claiming to be this fake religion called Christianity. If that's not a broad path, I don't know what to tell you. If that's not a broad path, I don't know what to tell you. Anything orthodoxy is basically the same thing. Orthodox Muslim, Orthodox Jew, Orthodox Christian. Well, Christian goes into denominations. Now they dividing you up even more. Because that's what denominations is. It's division. Division, 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 division. And if you have a whole bunch of numbers and stuff everywhere, things is divided and scattered all over the place, you got confusion, honey. And supposedly God is not the author of confusion. So y'all have to really take a look at what is it that y'all are claiming to be. Because if these Hebrew people, these Hebrews became the Jews, right? But these people were never an official nation. They were never an official nation. This is why they were never an official people until recently. It took them 2,000 something years roaming around the planet homeless. Do you understand the strength of the magic involved to pull this off? That is strong, strong, strong stuff. And they did everything they needed to do to make sure that as many people as possible got caught up in it, especially ones who look like us. Because like I said, we're sensational people. We contain the genes of Isis. So that means we got magic in our blood. That's what it is. We got magic in us. It's in there. It's a part of our genetic makeup. And in order for these people to get done what they need done, right? They need the permission of the ones who have the birthrights. This is why Enlil was upset. This is why Yahweh was angry. This is why Yahweh was angry, because Isis, Aset, Nershidishag, however she say her name in Samaria, Ishtar, she and Enki spliced their genes into the Neanderthals that were here, right? To make the first people. Those first people could not reproduce on their own, right? And Lil was cool with that. Because as long as they weren't in control of their own reproduction, he stayed in charge. They didn't have any rights to the planet because you're not of the planet. You're of this little test tube thing we pulled you out of up here on the ship, right? You didn't come out your mother who came out the ground, who, whatever the case is. You have no rights to the planet. So whatever we want to do with you, we're going to do with you. That's how Enlil wanted to keep it. But Enki didn't like that. He's like, why not let them have more say and more control? Like, they look like us and they're hella intelligent. Let's go ahead and, try to help them out a little bit more. So what Isis did, what Aset did, what Ishtar did, was she went and got permission from the father, right? From the father Anu, to give us more of their DNA, give us more of what makes them who they are, so we can be better creatures, better creations, or whatever. And in order to do that, what she did was she decided to be the carrier. She decided to be the carrier. When she decided to be the carrier, her body nourished that baby. It nourished the baby. It grew the baby the same way our bodies do. If you give me somebody else's egg and sperm and put it in my body, that baby is going to born and it's going to know me anyway. Why? Because it was formed in my womb. It came out of my matrix. My blood and my DNA nourished it. So from Isis birthed the children, right? And they had the Neanderthal and Enki and them DNA inside of them. That then gave them the ability to begin to birth and reproduce on their own. So now they became sexual beings. This is what pissed Enki. Oh, this is what pissed Enlil off. He's like, oh my God, what did she do? What did she do? Why did she make these people be able to do it on their own? Now he's going to lose power and control, because he has control over everything in the air. Enki has control over everything on the ground, right? He was in charge of the Earth Project, right? Now, these people being born of the earth and of them gave us status and authority that were inalienable. So the only way for Enlil to change that dynamic was either to kill us or to change us. So that's what he did. Okay, you done made you some pretty intelligent folks. You got them running the place, and these people is fucking. I mean, they is fucking here, they is fucking there, they up in the mountains, they fucking everything too. They fucking each other, they fucking the monkeys, they fucking the birds. Got all these weird ass people walking around all over the place. I'm getting ready to drown everything and everybody. Is getting crazy, getting dumb over there. What are these people doing? So he tried to destroy everybody, and he almost got away. He almost did it. But Enki tipped Noah off, said, look, my brother bugging, you're gonna have to get your crew and go up in the mountains and build a boat and just wait there till the flood come and carry the water away and carry y'all away. But y'all not safe down here. You got to get away so y'all can survive. The whole point of the survival of these made people was because we contained this divine DNA. We're not, they were not just human beings who were created with no brains or anything like that, of course. But they were under this spell thing going on. They got this hex on them. And Inky is like, God dog it, I gotta find a way to help folks. I gotta help. He wants to help people, right? So tell him to get away. Find a way to get away. Helped out who he could help out. They resurface, the ground dries out, civilization starts going on again, right? And throughout the whole entire Bible, we have Enlil, aka Yahweh, focusing, drilling, programming, brainwashing the Israelites to only deal with him. These people have an understanding, though, that Yahweh is Saturn. They get it. They get it. They get it. They understand. Because if you read through the Old Testament, they always talking about different gods was coming before them. I'm wondering how the permission can be powerful when they getting without conscious consent. The permission, because it's like, you know, when somebody says, if you like your silence is acceptance or acquiesce or whatever, it's like, even though you're not conscious of it, you're still responsible. It's like the laws of gravity. You may not know anything about the law of gravity, but if you give yourself permission to jump off of a building, you just gave yourself permission to fall, whether you knew gravity existed or not. So it's like things are in place and they're going to move. The wheels are going to turn. All they need is a yes or no from us. It don't even need for us to be conscious of what the yes or no is about. But that was done by design too, because this man, Yahweh, he wasn't interested in these people doing nothing but herding some goddamn cattle. He eating curry goat every other day. He eating goat and lamb chops all the time and fried chicken. Goat, lamb chops, and fried chicken. He didn't care about them people being nothing but some farmers and goat herders. That's it. You farming and herding goat, that's all he cared about, because he got to make sure he get him something to eat. Remember, they on the planet because it's a garden in the market. They came for resources. So Yahweh is like, that green stuff is all right, but I ain't into that. I need me some goat. I need me some curry goat. I need me some grilled goat. I need some shish kebab. I need some lamb chops. You want lamb chops. The consent is very serious, though, because as you can see, they kept the story and the folklore. They kept the programming going. They kept the programming going so they can keep the lie going, so they can keep the store. Remember, they need Adam and Eve to replenish. They need these Hebrew people. They need these Hebrew people here to be the food and labor, because the ones that were created before them are not the food and labor. We're not the food and the labor. Now, if you honestly feel like your family is one of the families that was that had branched off, and you know, maybe you have Yoruba background or whatever, you are Yoruban, or something like that, because Yorubans are Hebrew people, those are Hebrews. But like I said, they're not an official nation. You could be a village all you want. You could be a tribe all you want. And that's another thing. The 12 tribes of Israel, tribes are incessant groups. Incessant. Them cousin and cousin. pumpkin vines too. That's what they doing in tribes. That's where tribes come from. It's families. Look at how the Jews do. All them Jews is related. They keep their family tree and they only go with each other. They only go on with each other. And if you watch them, if you watch the Hasidic Jews too, you will understand what I mean when I say cattle. Because those can be some very cattle-like people. They're gonna stick to their regimen. They're gonna stick to the program that they have, and they're not listening to nobody except for the person that gave them that regimen. And they're gonna do whatever that regimen is telling them to do. Sheep. So we cannot watch these people. You understand what I'm saying? With their money, because that also is fake. So here we go. We got fake people, right? Hebrews, not a real people. A people have certain things involved. A people share land and ancestry together and culture. They have polity. They have polity together. The Hebrews didn't have a land. That's why they was roaming through the desert for so long, because they had came away from their nation. They left the nation that they were a part of to be their own nation under God. But God didn't never tell none of them to go get your name in a book and a paper and make sure you get officiated as a people. They have no such contract nowhere. And that's not on purpose. I mean, that's not by accident. That's absolutely on purpose. Because this whole system that we're living in right now was already the way it is. It's just being refined years and years and years. It's being refined. So there was always supposed to be a group of people within society that was not a part of a nation. There was always supposed to be a group of people in society that did not have a nation. Those would be the ones that would be the food, the labor, the sacrificial lambs for the gods, and all of that kind of stuff. It was never supposed to be us. It was never supposed to be us. Why would God do that to us? Why would God do that to us? Now, this is where it gets tricky and sticky at. Caucasian people, you have some of them that know that they were the Hebrew Israelites as well, right? So a lot of them branched off they come from Dravidians. You're going back to the garden again with this serpent, right? That serpent, that Naga serpent he comes from a people. Dravidians and Tamils. Dravidians and Tamils. You also find the Dravidian and Tamil bloodline in the eastern part of Africa. And some of us who have lineage in those parts of the world, you probably have Dravidian and Tamil DNA also. And some of us, you can look at us and tell that, yeah, you dark skin, but you're not, you got other stuff going on in there, right? Asiatic people. Asiatics. So these Dravidians also branched off into the Caucasus Mountains and into the Mongoloid Mountains and stuff like that. And they became the Caucasians and some of the Mongoloids who ran down. Yeah, you look like a Tamil too. I have Tamil too. I have Tamil and Dravidian too. Yep. So your Tamils are Those is Asiatic. Those is all Asiatic people. And guess what? They over there in their own continent, and they are labeled black, and they are treated bad. But we sit over here in the United States of America, in this fake country. This is not a country. This is a corporation, right? That calls its employers citizens, and then gave us this fake elaborate history that people who are not supposed to be citizens are picking up on and saying we resonate with this. That's our history, and we taking that history and we've made all these emotional connections, and we've trauma bonded. It got us trauma bonded to the history, and it's not even your history. It's not even a complete story that they're giving you. And they allow you to trauma bond to it so that you give your permissions and make allowances for other things that they don't have access to. So yeah, the conscious consent is very powerful. Every time you sign your signature on something, you're releasing your nature. You're releasing something for them. You're authorizing something to be released that they can't authorize without you. That's why they need you to sign. That's why they need our signatures on it. Because the system got set up to where it's like, okay, we know our kids is mixing with different people, and we have to tell the difference between who is noble blood and who is not. Who is the food and labor and who is the aristocracy. The mitochondria is from Pygmy tribe from Kenya. Oh, nice. Nice. Mine's is my mitochondria goes to the Tuareg people. The Tuareg people, like in Libya, Algeria, North Africa. That's where mine's go. I can't believe it's 12 o'clock. I'm not. Yeah, guys. So are you Hebrew? Are you the people that was taken away from the nation, given a fake story, made to accept this fake identity, and now you're just going to hold on to it because that's what it's been for all these years? Or are you original people? Are you original blooded people? Where you understand that even if your ancestors did leave the nation that they were once a part of, you understand that being a Hebrew Israelite is not being a part of a nation, and that you need to go back to your nation. We need to go back to our nation. Seriously, like ASAP, y'all. ASAP. Kanye West and them is playing y'all with this whole, oh, we the Black Jews. No such thing as a Jew. There's no such thing as a Jew. That's a new invention. A Jew is something that was just made up the other day. A Hebrew Israelite, again, something that is made up. It's an allegory, really. The highest, most optimal understanding of these things is allegory, where all these characters in the Bible represent parts of the human body, planets in the sky, and places on the earth. That's what the Bible is really talking about. It's talking about the planets in the sky, us, and places on the earth that correlate. And they gave them these names to make the story more understandable for us. Galatians says that I've given you all these stories for you as allegory. So why are we still walking around saying that we are these people when it's an allegory? It's an allegory. The tribe of Israel, Jacob, Israel, represents the common man. He represents the common man who is not tapped into his God self yet. He's still following God outside of himself because he hasn't realized that God is on the inside. He has injury that buckles him, traumatizes him, and makes him stay in this injured way. Like now he's remaining injured. He's not trying to move beyond his injury. He's not trying to accomplish beyond his injury. He's not interested in seeing God's face again. He don't want to fight no more. Jacob don't want no more smoke. He don't want no more smoke. So he's going to focus on the flesh part of him. Changed his name to Israel. Genes of Isis, Ra, and El. Israel. I said Is Ra, El, as an Elegua, Elegua, Elegba, El, Elohim. Okay? Yeah, the tribes represent the zodiac. And the zodiac is your body, people. That's your body. So if only focused on being the flesh, on being the body, and you're not connecting yourself to God, that's why you can't see yourself connecting to a nation, because you're not quite understanding how nations and tribes and governments and all of this stuff is formed anyway. Everything comes from God. Everything comes from, we got to come from God first. So if it don't come from God, if it don't descend from God, it's not organic, and it can be taken away and moved and manipulated. It's a thing. It doesn't have to be given a certain type of respect if it doesn't descend from God, which is why we had Slavs here for years, because they don't descend from God. So we were able to put them to work and make them indentured servants and things like that. This is why you hear stories about, and they try to make our ancestors sound so horrible, right? With the demonization and calling and talking about the human sacrifice and stuff like that. They got us real sensitive. They got us thinking we're like them. So when things are happening to them that may actually absolutely supposed to be happening to them, we feel bad and we want to jump in the fire and save them. And oh no, take me instead, Stephen. You gotta be kidding me. How are we going to redeem ourselves as a people and on an individual basis if we don't get the individual understanding? If we don't get the individual understanding of the history and how things are formed, Hebrew Israelite is not a real nation. It is not a real nation. Trump just did a whole bunch of shit when he was in office to get these folks their flag and stuff over in Israel the other day. Like they just got some land the other day. They just got some land the other day. And it's so ironic that they were able to get some land for them to assign themselves to be a legit real nation not too long before this whole country crashes. And the people who are actually here, me and you, who are absolutely entitled to this land and the resources in it. Most of you have not found the nation that you are from. You do not want to be a part of that nation. We have these, they messed us up, y'all. They really messed us up. The lack of emotional intelligence, the lack of emotional maturity is keeping us spiritually crippled. We make moves like children, like half-wits, because we don't have all of the information and knowledge that we need to make the proper decisions. So what do? I don't know what to tell you, but you see what I got my sign on. I got my sign. So any man see me, I'm not going to be slain. What sign do you have? Because that 6-pointed star gets slain every day. The ones under that star right there, underneath the 6-pointed star, and being is problems. It's problems. If you look like this, and that was not intended for you, and you holding on to it anyway. I'm an Israelite. You're going through some stuff. You're going through some stuff, and there's not going to be a remedy. There's not going to be a remedy for that because it's exactly the way it's designed to be. Where you don't have a real permanent home for yourself on the planet because they need to be able to dehumanize you. They need to have you dehumanized, denationalized, so they can make you what they need you to be. If you have land, you can submit yourself to it. You can definitely tie yourself to your land and say, this is what it is for us, and we're going to develop and cultivate ourselves here, right? And you would have the right to do that. But they know if you don't have certain information, he who does not know he's being rob his ass anyway. Like, that's a maxim. What can you do except for really try to step outside your comfort zone and take a look at what I said tonight? A Hebrew Israelite is a cultural thing. It's not a real political group. It's not a real nation that's known before the other nations of the world. That's a cultural thing that's happening here. That's a cultural thing that's happening here, and it's happening in other westernized countries, where they have people from the African diaspora. All of that plays into denationalizing people. It's all a part of the big, greater scheme to denationalize as many people as possible, so they have as many resources and as much blood sacrifices they need to have. Send these people to war. You got this company fighting with that company, and the people who's actually doing the fighting and dying think they fighting for a country. It's a corporation you fighting for. It's a corporation you fighting for. All right, so y'all be good, y'all be well. Go with God. And look, your star need 5 points, baby. Because that's the man right there. It's in front of the sun. That's why I got the circle. It's in front of the sun. But you standing on your merit, you on your square. That 6-pointed star only feeds the ego. It's good to keep your house safe. You can do a lot of good stuff on a physical plane with that 6-pointed star. But as far as you being able to govern yourself and be in charge of self, you ain't doing it following that. Sorry. I was very deep into Hebrew Israelites until I studied myself out of it. Took me a while to accept we have been bamboozled. Yep. Yes, indeed, LaMonica. Yes, indeed. I wish my sister was on here, my brother and sister, because they in the Hebrew Israelite thing, and my sister is actually like, she's getting sick. She's getting sick because from the outside looking in, I passed through the camp. I ain't sticking around long because I was like, I left church. I'm not going to another church where all they doing is yelling and being niggerish all day. That's because it was sounding and feeling broke in there to me too. It's like, that's not where I want to go. That's not where I want to be. And when you have power is not loud. Power is actually kind of quiet. So I wasn't feeling that. But my sister and brother, they got involved in it, and she's like with the yelling and the arguing and the debating and the constant fear mongering. There's a lot of fear mongering that goes on amongst the Hebrew Israelite camp. It's a lot of fear. Oh, you got to prepare for this. You got to prepare for that. It's always battle mode. And that's because Yahweh was a warlord. Yah is a god of war. He fights a lot. He wages war with everybody because he's a minor god who doesn't want to be a minor god. Don't want to be. Understand? It's like I wish my sister would study and be able to talk to somebody like you who've been there and you understand and you could be able to help her. She's not going to listen to me. And I be right about everything. I don't even talk unless I'm right. And if I'm wrong, I'm willing to be proven wrong because I like to learn. I don't have no problem being wrong. But if I'm opening my mouth about something, it's because I'm right. Who's the major god? The major god for who? The Hebrew Israelites? Yahweh. Oh, who's the major god? Major gods. It's major gods. The major gods would be the ones that basically like had the bigger hands in creation, like Osiris, Osiris, Asar, Aset, Nebuchadnezzar, Isis, the God, those ancient Nut, like Nut and Geb, those would be the major gods. And gods like Yahweh didn't come along until afterwards. That's why I say he's a minor god. He comes along after we see people, when people start doing stuff. And even then, it's like it's so many layers because all of this is energy. It's planetary energy. Like the planet Saturn has 9 rings, and there's other little like moons and stuff that's floating around it, and all of this stuff is giving off energy. You got Jupiter way in the back somewhere. He's giving off energy. All of these are energies, and people understood that the gods was in the sky, the planets. And they also understood that these planets, somehow they get together and they make us. So we're part of them. They understood that, But because the agenda was we coming to Earth to get resources, we're sourcing the place, they had to create another type of people, I guess, that they wouldn't feel bad about eating and stuff. Like I wouldn't want to eat my own children either. But if you let your kids go out into a world and you tell them, look, y'all, stick to yourself, don't mix with the people, and then your kids start mixing, it's like, okay, gotta put something in place to protect your offspring, right? So they put something in place to protect the offspring, but we kept mixing and mixing and mixing and mixing and mixing and mixing. Now everybody look alike. You can't tell who has original royal blood and who doesn't. Because you got some Caucasian people white as a snowflake outside, and they got more soul and melanin in their nervous system than some of these people walking around here with buckshots like I don't know what. You would swear to God, oh, he got to be melanated. But a lot of these people that look like us are not like us. They vibe different. Their vibration is different from us. It's like, wow, you move like that? Different. They different, So it's like this the way everything is set up with all the deception and the confusion and the secrets, it's almost as if there's no other way to filter out who's supposed to be in charge and who's supposed to be the food and who's supposed to be the people. It's hard to separate that because people don't know no more. We don't know ourselves, let alone what bloodline we belong to. You know what I mean? So it's like, damn, I wouldn't want to mess around and have the chicken wearing a crown and have my kid on a plate. So we gotta proclaim our nationality before men because this is what it is. This is what it is. And I feel kind of sorry for a lot of people who have gotten caught up into certain spiritual practices. That's a lot of things were spoken about, but they kind of lumped all of us up into one bunch. It was like all of it is witchcraft, all of it is voodoo, all of it is bad. And that is a lie from the pit of hell. But you do have some like African spirituality. I'm into my beads. I understand what I'm doing though. These are energies. These are energies. These are energies and the colors and all of that. Them folks was over here first, then they went to Africa and settled the things over there, right? So when that was taking place, you also in that same time frame you had a lot of people that was selling each other out, and we still seeing it right now today. Watch this movie called Blood Sisters on Netflix. I almost threw up. Like, that mother was horrible. Okay, terrible, horrible, terrible, terrible, terrible. But we still have things like that going on, and a lot of people who go missing, who get killed, who just having these separations. A lot of people, more than we realize, are being sacrificed. A lot of people are being fed to these entities. Not all of these entities are bad that came down. Not everything is bad. Not everything is bad. And not everything that want blood is bad either. Because you got some of the best people eat steak 3-4 times a week. They eating blood. They eating blood. You know what I mean? So it's like we have to understand our place in the whole thing and just position ourselves in the smartest, safest place that has been provided. And definitely claiming to be different tribes out of ancient books is not going to help us today politically. That's not going to help us economically at all. There is nothing. There is nothing in these law books for Hebrew people alone. What is, though, in these law books is the treaties, like the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, the Treaty of Merkush, the Treaty of Tripoli. We got treaties that say who we are and where we came from. It's written down. The Pharaoh in Egypt gave us permission to come here with Joseph. We got permission to be here from the king, from Egypt, ancient Kemet. So this is a political move that's been in action for a long time, you know, and we got to be careful. We got to be careful with religion because it's based on science, but they're not telling you the science the way you need to know it. Really, the only way you could get the science the way you need to know it is if you study it on your own for you, right? But they give you some of it. They give you just enough to keep you in your body, keep you out your crown, because they don't want that to start activating and turning, because then you're going to wake all the way up. So to prevent you from waking all the way up, they make sure they got life really busy, keep you busy in your lower chakras, keep that root busy, keep that sacral chakra busy, keep that solar plexus busy, keep the solar plexus off and on, off and on, off and on. You got people with confidence one day, the next day they don't have none. You know, people can't make it. They struggling to can't have children, or they oversexed. Like the body is taking them through a lot of different ebbs and flows of activity that's keeping them from being able to sit. And then there's hardly no time in the day to even meditate and sit still to see if you could catch a vibe, see if you could wake up something inside your mind. A lot of people don't even have time, you know? So it's kind of rough out here, but the truth is out here. The truth is out here. The remedy is out there. But we ain't no Hebrews, y'all. And if you are a Hebrew, if you plan on surviving this reset right here, because they've been doing resets, they show you in the Bible where they keep resetting the place. You got the Tower of Babel. They done let out some kind of wave, something. Nobody name language. Well, now nobody understands each other. And can I tell you, language is not just verbal, it's nonverbal also. You got verbal and nonverbal communication. So people got split up. Their energy got so thrown off that they weren't able to communicate no more. Then we see another reset in the Bible with the flood. Then we see another reset with the fire and the fire and stuff. And a lot of the things that's going on in Revelation is happening right now. A lot of those things are happening now. So we're in the middle of a reset. And every time the people went through some sort of cataclysmic event in the Bible, right? Yeah, they're trying to wipe us out, take you down. The people are always left so traumatized and damaged afterwards that they never recover back to how they were before. So think about that. We went from being kings and queens to being governors and chiefs to just being housewives and housewives and yardmen. What you going to be now after this? We went from having a nationality to having a membership to a company to just having a status and a color slapped on you or a fake place on a planet. Because where's Africa, America? It doesn't exist. It's not a real place. So nobody can be African American. Nobody is even African. The Africans just tell us they African because that's the bullshit that they say to us, so they don't gotta explain a bunch of stuff. They don't want to explain nationality to us. They know we don't understand. 9 out of 10 people in this country don't even care about nationality. They have no care about. They don't. They like, can I spend the money? Am I going to get money? That's all people care about is money. This system has succeeded in turning people into cattle. It succeeded because all people want to do is work and make money. Maybe if they have a little time to lay down and get a little on, they'll do that. You know, a little recreation, they'll do that. But the most important thing for most people is to work. That's the most important thing. That's what sheep do. Sheep work. They walk around on the field and they graze. And when the time comes, and this is what we got to watch out for, because the place is changing. The place was a garden, right? The place is a garden. They came to harvest stuff. They're going to be harvesting. What do they do with the animals in the garden? The sheep's in them. They shave them, right? They shave them and they use their body parts for different things to make glue and fertilizer and coats and fabrics, and they eat the meat. What do you think is going to happen to y'all if you don't get right? Most don't want to raise up in consciousness. No, they don't. They don't, and it's so sad. And they really don't think that this thing is going to happen, and it's like, it's happening though. It's happening. They are taking people out with this jab. They done took out, I don't know how many people they done took out with the jab. They're not talking about that no more. So as we can see, the information is being controlled, right? What people have access to right now is being controlled. Everything is being monitored, and there's a lot of restrictions and stuff like that. So people are being led to believe whatever's popular, whatever's going to get them through the day without making more drama for themselves, without having to argue or explain to somebody about something. People just want to be able to get through. And it's like, if you put people under that type of stress constantly, yes, they will give up their eye. They will give up a leg. Take my arm, take my leg, and just leave me alone. That's where they got y'all at right now. That's where they got the people at. Take whatever you want from me. Just leave me alone. All I want to do is have something to put in my mouth, a roof over my head to keep me dry, and peace. And peace. But peace is the one thing you absolutely will not have. Peace is a human right. This is also the proof that they not treating people like humans in this country if you call yourself Black. And I don't care what Black you come from. If you come from any part of this side of the planet and you identify as a Black person, your two middle numbers and your social security number, that second number is an even number, you Black, boo. You Black. Mm-hmm. And they are denationalizing people and trying to make sure you don't pick up on nationality because they got plans for y'all. They got plans. Rape and capture. They've been raping you. They've been raping the people. They've been raping the people. Now they gonna capture the people. And this new system is not going to be a game. So it's like if we don't understand how we operate, how we work with this planet, and how the sun and the moon and all of these things affect us, if we don't get a hold of that, so we can operate like our natural selves on this planet, they are going to use and then wipe whoever out. They're going to wipe people out. And I can't even be upset. I can't even be upset. I can't be mad. I can't be none of those things because it's already written. It's already written. And saying, oh, I don't believe in the Bible doesn't make it go away. Like this story is not a Christian story. This is old. This is coming from the oldest documents found in history, period. The cuneiform. So it's up to us to not be afraid. Like, there's no reason to be afraid. If you woke, you conscious, you spirit, you all of that, then you God. You the God of your existence, and you're basically energy. So when this meat suit take a hit, you're gonna close your eyes and get up out that body and go find you another one. I know that's what I plan on doing. First of all, my meat suit gonna be fly. It ain't going nowhere no time soon. This stuff is getting better and better. Be healthy. We're gonna be here for a while. But in the event of, we need to learn how to operate as ourselves. The same way we know how to make up our bed in the morning, brush your teeth, wash your ass, take a shower, get dressed, go to work, go to school, walk, get the train, get the bus. We know how to live in this society. We need to learn how to live in the cosmic society. We need to learn how to live in the galactic society, the greater, bigger, more important society that we're a part of. All right? So that's it, y'all. I done talked myself to death. Learning to interact with the sun can help us elevate. Yep, we got to just learn about these things, We got to just learn. We got to just understand. The sun helps your ba. It helps your ba. It grows your ba. It grows your ego. When you have a healthy ego will have you look at a situation or an assignment and say, I can do that. I can accomplish that. I'm going to do this. That's what the ego does. It affirms, it makes its affirmations. It affirms itself. So we definitely need to work with the planets. Don't worship them. Don't, because you wasn't put here to worship the planets. You wasn't put here for that. We was put here to love and have an experience and expand our consciousness. We got to expand our consciousness so we can change our situation, guys. So I will see y'all tomorrow. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. See y'all then. Be safe, be good, be loved, be happy, go with God. All right, y'all. See y'all later.